Hey, what's going on? This is Edithson Abelard back for, I don't know what part of our video series we're on now, but now we're ready to do our painting. I showed you the UVs for this last, so I think we're just ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and change this. And I don't want this name. Full soda. We'll add can 1. Cool. So we have these other pieces in here. Not going to harm us. We're just going to select these. File, Motion Builder, of course, I wish. Mudbox, and we're going to create a new scene. So this is going to load up, which I didn't preload this. So let me load this thing up, and I'm going to pause this video, and we're going to be in Mudbox. All right, as promised, opened up, and now we're in Mudbox. Whew. Now this is the application. I prefer this to, when it comes to painting, even if I come out of ZBrush, just because I like the Photoshop integration. It just makes it easier for me coming from the design end of things. So let's create a layer. I've already created this layer, and we're going to call it base. Remember the B. And I want this to be a light base. And of course, I'm not going to do this work by myself. We're just going to flood the camera. Flood the camera. Yeah, I know. Flood the camera. Flood the camera. Now notice this mesh isn't selected, and that's the reason why this isn't being painted. But that's fine. I can come in here and just paint right on top. It's this nice white color. So that's all I did. We just dropped a base on there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm keeping this at this 2K because remember we wanted it 2K. You don't want to have different size layers. So we're going to call this Chrome. And we're just going to create a little bitty chrome texture. Now there are so many ways we can go about doing this. But I'm just going to do it this way. Let's chrome this. And just pray that it stays on this top portion. I don't want to mask things out right now. But the better way to do this would have been to just mask it out. I may end up having to do that. So maybe I'll show you how to mask. This is similar to using Photoshop. Let me make this. I'm just gonna add right click, and I hope that's right click. I'm using a tablet, so I can't actually remember what these buttons are for. I'm just used to it. We want to create a new layer mask, and we want to come up here. You see this color? Now this is confusing, right? You see gray, and you're like, okay, let me do this, right? And you're like, wait, what's going on there? Well, what's happening is masks are in black and white. So I don't know why this is defaulting to gray, because that's actually useless. That's doing a half mask, and we don't want that. So this is what we want to do. We want to create that mask. And all that's going to do is just mask off that layer. So this is, once again, this is relatively dirty. But that's okay. We can, if we want to come back and clean this up, we can also do that later on. So yeah, so that's all we're doing is just cleaning up this mask. If you want to clean up the mask in Photoshop as well, you can do that by all means. It might actually be a little easier if you're used to using Photoshop. As you can see, I kind of jumped the gun over here. So let's just make this white again. Bring this brush size down. Whoops. So that's really, you don't get these options in a lot of the other packages. And hence why I prefer to use this, because it just has a nice Photoshop flow to it. Now, in a perfect world, this is still not the best tool to do UVs. The Foundry put out a great application called Mari. That one is extremely nice. If you're used to using Nuke for VFX, or if you've never heard of it, Nuke is a great tool for VFX. Think of it as After Effects on steroids, but only steroids made for visual effects. It's not good at doing motion graphics work, but it's really good at doing the visual effects portion. Colors and compositing really is its stronghold. Come down here. Oops, wrong color. Let's choose this color again. Increase the size. No, we don't need steady stroke. Whoops. Ouch. Maybe we increase the size too much. Whoa, how big is this thing? Well, that also comes with the scale of the actual model. Now, remember I said we wanted to make this thing a lot larger. As you can see, compared to this grid, this is still a munchkin. So, so the scale is, you know, if we can actually come in here, this is the 2013 version, so you can actually come in here and scale and freeze transformation here, and then when you import it, you'll have that data in Maya. But I'll just keep this like this. We're gonna, you know, once again, we're just roughing this stuff out. We can clean up and make this thing perfect later on. We do not want to get caught up in the minute details, and we don't want to spend too much time, once again, on those small details that have very little effect. And that's what we're trying to protect from. And, you know, a lot of the techniques that we've been talking about so far are really based on that principle. You know, if it's not worth the time, it's just not worth the time if you're not going to have the greatest impact. So I'm just going to quickly do this. The other thing we can do is actually select the faces themselves, so we're painting just these faces, but we can leave that for another video. Again, we don't want that to be that. Liking that off a little bit. Just take the obvious stuff down. All right, cool. Now I've been saving this, but really what we want to do now is wouldn't it be great if we could just take this right into Photoshop as is? Because I have this logo I want to show you, and I wanted to use this logo. Voila, export channel to PSD. So let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. Now what it's going to do is it's going to create, which first of all, does I have it open already? Nope, not yet. This whole new system is really nice. It's just, come on. Oh, preparing, I better stop doing that. Preparing texture for, so we're gonna let that load up. Oh, you already saw a little bit of that logo. So this is a logo that I went ahead and created. Nothing fancy, but you know, something that we can, you know, just quickly grab. We're just gonna grab this portion and bring this in when the texture saves out. So let me just make sure this texture saves out and we'll continue. All right, so now we're ready to go into Photoshop. Let me create a new layer, and I'm going to call this a logo. Right, and we're just going to take this, we're going to choose this export channel to PSD, and I created this textures. It's in the images folder. Large wall, don't ask me why this will stay there. Let's call this full soda can. All right, so now what will happen is it's basically going to watch it. Okay, so this is what we have. This is our Photoshop file, and as you can see, all this stuff has been exported. We have our Chrome, we have our base, we have our logo. So really, what I want to do now is open up our logo. So I did this logo really quick in Illustrator. The idea is that we're going to take this, copy it, and paste it. And it's our soda drink. And we're going to come in here into Photoshop. Now, remember when we were talking about how this is going to be laid out and what effect it will have? Well, this is that effect I was talking about. We can just take this, plop this here, and now because this isn't split into 4, because remember when we first did the topology, it was split into 4. So because we didn't allow it to stay split in 4, now we can scale this up and have one half for here and the other half for the other section. So I'm just going to save that. We're going to duplicate. Now you're probably noticing a trend here. There's a lot of applications that are being used here, and this is very normal. You know, you really, what you want to do is maximize each application for its use, and that's what we're doing here. So I just hit save. Let's go into Mudbox real quick, not Maya. Mudbox, notice there was a change, and it's going to ask us, do we want to re-import? Let's re-import, and boom, looks nice. Oops. That is upside down. That's just not right. All right, cool. Not a problem. I don't know which one is upside down, but one of them is upside down. What we can do probably is come into here, into mesh, and this is oh, I love this. Unflatten and flatten to UV space. I flatten to UV space, and poof, look what we have, right? And now it's on the other side. So what we actually have here, I didn't check this, and this is definitely my bad, but we have our UVs in different directions. We may end up having to come into Maya and double check our UVs. Display, get our heads up display. Where is our UV section? Polygons. Oh, normals is the word I'm looking for. That's why we're not finding it. We want to see our normals. What is this thing? Now, this happens every once in a while. You see things so often, and then poof, they're gone. Versus this face normals. There you go. All right, cool. All right, so that's fine. We just have our normals are just flipped. It might have happened when we were doing our UVs. We might have flipped the U or whatever, and now we have that. But all of our normals are pointing outwards, so that's good. And those normals are these lines. If we were to point one in the opposite direction, you'll see this won't be showing. So okay, so we know that our problem is that this just needs to be reversed. So we can grab this and just flip it. Oops. We can go ahead and just flip this in that direction. Or we can just fix our UV. But I think that'll work fine for now. Re-import. Boom. Okay, so let's see how that works and see if that fixes our problem. If not, we're going to be doing a little bit of UV work. So we'll go back into mesh, unflatten, and yeah, we're still a little lopsided. Let's try it that way and see what happens. Whoa, super duper confusing. Okay, let's do this. And then edit our image. Transform, flip horizontally. Place. Okay, so now, there you go. Little confusing. Not what I would like. Oops, we don't want that. But here, now we have our soda. We have our drink. We can tighten this up a little bit, of course. But this is really what we wanted to do. We have a nice soda can, and if we want to, we can just take this and send it directly back to Maya. We can update the current scene, update textures in the current scene. We're just going to update the current scene. And there you go. Now, the one thing I don't like about this is that sometimes Mudbox has a tendency to think that it's great at reflections. So it will send us a nasty looking reflection back. But you can get rid of that and export out just a color map so you're not looking at that. So our normals are still right. We have a little bit of error here, but that's our soda can. So what we can do now is there's no need to import this right into Unity because it's just not going to be very useful by itself. But as you can see, we have a nice soda can ready for Unity. Well, almost. The last thing we want to do is come back in here and do a little bit of cleanup and remove some of these unnecessary polygons. And just because of the shape, we won't have to worry about changes. So I'm going to go ahead and move along and go into the next video. So this is Edithson Abelard. I'm out.